Normally during the months of October and November, we spend a lot of our time in the deer woods, but this past season, we actually had 2 or 3 deer down by the time we normally get 1 down. So that gave us a lot of free time this year, which obviously is going to be filled with more hunting. And this year we filled it with pheasant hunting. We spent a lot of time here in Ohio. We actually went out to Pennsylvania a couple times. We got some birds. And not only are they pretty, but they taste really good. And wild game birds kind of get pushed under the rug sometimes. You do a recipe, you do another recipe, and kind of stick to the same thing. We're gonna change it up a little bit. We're gonna do General Tso's, but with pheasant. And General Tso's is actually a really neat cuisine because it comes from southern parts of China and then got into Taiwan and then came into New York City and then manipulated through the entire United States of how to cook it. So there's a lot of ways to interpret this recipe, but I'm gonna show you a good one. It tastes delicious. It's actually kind of fun to make. So here's what you're gonna need.
Okay, so right off the rip, let's talk meat. Realistically, you can use any kind of wild bird. However, the bigger the better because this recipe is for breast meat only. Once you have the meat acquired, slice it into bite-sized chunks. Then place in a non-reactive bowl because this bird will be marinated. For the marinade, you're going to need 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of Shaoxing wine, a 1-inch block of ginger peeled and grated, and finally 2 cloves of garlic also peeled and grated. Once all combined, gently toss to combine. And ideally you'll want this to sit overnight, but if you're pinched for time, 1 to 2 hours will be just fine. Next, in a separate bowl, you'll need to combine 1 cup of flour, then 1/4 cup of cornstarch, and then 1 tablespoon of baking soda. Once again, mix until combined. Once you are satisfied with your marination time, grab a piece of bird, remember, do this individually, and cover that piece of bird completely in your flour dredge. No bare spots, absolutely none, it's not allowed. If after the first dredge you still see bird, put it back in the flour dredge. You are the master of your own kitchen, do not let yourself down. And then continue with the rest of the pieces. Once all pieces are covered, set in the fridge for about 15 minutes to let the breading really adhere to the meat. Next, it's time to prepare the rice. And please, do yourself a favor, wash the rice. It tastes better, it adheres better, it's just all around better. So after a quick rinse, it's time to add it to your rice cooker. And for this recipe, we're using Jasmine rice, nothing special. Once in the rice cooker, add the appropriate amount of water, and then cover and ignore until it's done. Okay, so back to the bird. It's frying time. Heat your oil to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, slowly set into the hot oil with the spider, be careful not to splash yourself, and then let cook for about 3 to 4 minutes or until golden brown and fully cook through. Once fully cooked through, remove, set on a wire rack, and then salt immediately. And big surprise, repeat until completely done, even if one little piece of bird still wants to fly away. So at this point, we're moving on to the sauce, which obviously we're going to make on our own. And I'll be using a wok, but if you want to use a regular pan, that's also fine. However, if you don't use a wok, the meat's going to come out a little bit sweeter and it won't be as smoky. But again, that's up to you. So once the wok is thoroughly heated, add about 2 to 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil. It should be darn near smoking, so swirl it around, cover the pan, and then add 1 or 1.5 inch cube of peeled and diced ginger. Give it a quick toss and then add 4 cloves of peeled and diced garlic. Next add 4 or 5 dried chili peppers. I like to use Thai chili. I think they're barely just a touch sweet, but they actually have a little bit of smoke flavor behind them. Be sure to remove the cap, toss in whole, and then stir immediately. Afterwards, you're going to need to add 1/2 cup of chicken stock. My pour was a little shy. I should have measured it, so I wound up adding a little bit more later. Then add 1 tablespoon of Shaoxing wine, followed by 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. Next, add 3 tablespoons of granulated white sugar. Notice how I keep stirring? That's kind of the thing here. Just keep stirring. And there's the rest of the chicken stock. Dummy. Now it's time to add the slur, which consists of 2 tablespoons of cornstarch and 2 tablespoons of water. And when you add this, drizzle it in slowly. And as you add it, continue to stir. So now that your sauce is ready, it's time to add the bird. Add it in chunks so you don't splash the hot sauce all over yourself. And before you start the plate, make sure you add your better rice to the bowl and then a side of broccoli, and get ready for some sesame seeds and some chive onions to be laid on top. Once all the meat is added, stir and combine, toss around if you feel froggy, and then stand at attention for General Tso's pheasant.
One of the cool things about this recipe is it's a little bit different. There's a lot of influences coming into the flavor of this meal itself. Well, if I eat that bite, I'm gonna be chewing for a week. It's actually a really sweet meal. It comes out just a little bit spicy. It's perfect with the better rice. Broccoli on the side is just awesome. And you get to add different styles of food and cooking into your own home. But most importantly, I hope you give the game that you acquired from the field the respect that it deserves. It's super easy. It's actually kind of a fun recipe to make because you're just tossing stuff into a hot pan, getting it nice and spicy, and then adding your flavors to it. This is a fun meal.
Cut.